Right, well, we've been at Bray Lake for 40 minutes and we're halfway through the fettling of woodstock, which means doing all the little things that need to be done to get it out of the car and make it work. So the keel is on, but has not yet been draped in plastic sheeting as per Dick's requirements. I've just put the mast in place and we've just bolted the deck down. So now Dick is going to get his patent rudder angle adjustment thing going. But I've got to get the rudder central before you can do that properly, can't I? Don't I, Dick?
Yeah.
So I think I'll do that next. You found a beautiful thing. Where did you get that from? A cocktail stick? Could not be better. I've got a Stanley knife in the...
Actually, I need to take the end off.
Yeah, I've got a Stanley knife.
I've got one. Yeah.
So you've got one too. We've got Stanley knives coming out of our ears, which is quite painful, actually. I'm going to put this camera on a tripod because I can't hold it forever like this.
Right, okay.
So Dick is going to...
Looks like this one's the one with the tape mark.
Settle the keel. Settling of the keel underway. I'm going to hold it to the boat to stop it. While Dick is doing that, I'll just point out that we got a picture on this rudder of how we want to redesign it. We're going to narrow it to this width, cut off this back bit, move this post to this position here, and move the whole rudder back to a position more like here. So it'll have more leverage and be smaller and be pivoted about its centre so that it's balanced. But that is for another day. I'm just showing it to you now because I think that drawing will disappear as soon as it gets wet. Right, so Dick has finished fettling the keel. And we'll see whether it remains watertight in there. Not that it matters, but that's part of the experiment. So Robin is about to launch at 11:37 BST, and I can't see a thing in the... Oh, here we are. Turning towards Alpha. And the wind is from the west, would you say, Robin? Well, I've been trying to get the telemetry going. This is a Hewlett-Packard Spectre 360, which is a crap-awful laptop. Now, my problem at the moment, which I can scarcely believe, is that right-click has completely disappeared. And without right-click, I cannot use this bloody thing. Either that or Microsoft has updated Windows 10 so that right-click doesn't work. Might be working now. But if anybody thinks that's a computer, they haven't a clue what a computer really is. The only thing that's a computer is a proper desktop. How are we doing then, Dick?
It's coming along nicely. I've got the thing corrected now.
So we're nearly up to 2 hours fettling so far.
Yeah.
And I've just been swearing at my laptop computer.
And we got it to work?
I think so.
Yeah, well done.
Right click still doesn't work, but I did it the slow way.
Right.
Right, Woodstock is launched with the deeper keel, and the anemometer is actually turning, which is pretty incredible. Well, I suppose not really, it's just normal, isn't it? And it's under, I don't know, it's the radio control block, so that's underwater.
Yeah. Next time I'm going to put a cannon on.
Is there some reason why Woodstock is going over to the left?
No.
So I don't know what it's doing there, it's grounded.
The radio was on. You said it was on.
The radio control was on, but we thought it was under autopilot control, so we weren't actually using the control. So we relaunched it again. Woodstock going towards Alpha. Reviewing this footage afterwards, this is from the Dragon camera on deck. Dick says that he was, as a helmsman, looking at the horizon and seeing the boat moving left or right on the horizon and thinking that the rudder was not responding quickly enough or by a big enough movement to control it properly. See what you think. Snoopy only makes a rudder movement once every 7 seconds. Woodstock makes one once a second, roughly speaking, and we don't actually have the electrical power to do that with the current deck area, so you know there's got to be a compromise somewhere here. I was looking at the trip in the telemetry tent and things seemed to be going well after our initial mishap. When we pushed off the boat again, it made a straight line course towards waypoint Alpha, went through that, switched to waypoint Bravo and seemed to be going almost in the right direction. And at that point the track stopped and I didn't notice it, and 10 minutes passed with no new points. Meanwhile Dick was chatting to some people who'd come by, and our attention wasn't quite on the ball, and the next thing that happened was this. So Woodstock is grounded on the far side of the lake. And I don't know what we're going to do about it. What are we going to do about it, Dick?
Go around with the pole, try and push it out if we can.
Yeah.
Or wade out if I can. Get it going again and radio control it.
Radio control it from there,
yeah.
Yes.
Certainly be easier.
Because all we're really testing is the keel and the anemometer, isn't it? So sailing it back across the lake any old how will be fine from the point of view of testing the anemometer. Dick is going to walk round the lake with a pole and see what he can do. It's got quite a long way to go. It's all the way around there. And meanwhile, I'm just standing here eating a sandwich. This is our acquaintance Paul, who works for a very high-res camera company, who just came round to have a look at our misfortune.
Push it out and then take over with the radio. No, just sitting on the mud.
So Dick pushed it off again, and it made its way back, partly under autopilot control, partly under radio control. The magenta is radio control, the green is autopilot. I think Dick was just experimenting here. And made its way back. At that point there was another failure of the telemetry, causing that big jump, and went into waypoint Alpha and decided therefore to go to Bravo, but it couldn't do so because the wind was coming almost directly from Bravo, as you can see by this cyan line that indicates the direction of the wind. So it was trying to sail west to Bravo but could not. So Dick turned the radio control on again and brought it with a very incredible skill directly back to base. I'll just take the opportunity to say, I've already said we've got this cyan line which shows the true direction of the wind as measured by the equipment on board. Down here we have the wind direction relative to the boat and the wind speed in mph, and up at in this blue box, the right hand corner, we have a graph of wind direction on the red line between 0 and 360 degrees, and the blue line is a graph of wind speed multiplied by 10, so that it appears approximately sensible. So this speed here is about 4.5 mph. So we'll be analysing that data to see if it makes sense and what we need to do next. The data is actually quite consistent. It's not as if it's jumping around all over the place, either as to speed or direction, which is pleasing. Well, that was a very successful recovery of yours.
Yeah.
By radio control.
My goodness, I couldn't have got it more accurate.
No.
It's pure chance.
Much water there is in the keel in a minute.
Right.
If there is any water in the keel.
Yeah, it's full of.
Full of water, is it? Good, well that just makes it better. That's no problem. I had a look at the SD card log.
Yeah.
And it did restart 2 or 3 times. And this is due to an error or a basic reporting an error, and the program stopping and then it being restarted by virtue of the fact that I restarted the telemetry at this end.
Right. Which didn't happen until after it had run ashore.
No.
But did it...
well, I don't know when the first one happened.
Right, okay.
But the problem is, I think it's to do, because I've had this problem before, and it was caused by using the same subroutine at interrupt level and at normal level, because BASIC is not a properly re-entrant programming language. And so I've just got to check that. It may be something to do with the wind stuff that we put on. In fact, I'm virtually certain it could be that. It's because the wind stuff, the get wind subroutine is being called in the helmsman loop, which is an interrupt loop.
Right.
And it's also been called in the autopilot loop, which is the main code, and that is my mistake. Had I not done that, that wouldn't have happened. So that explains the restarting, unwanted restarting. So that was our second attempt to test the anemometer and wind vane. The first time we did it, there was absolutely nothing recorded on the SD card for some reason. This time we got good data recorded on the SD card, but unfortunately the autopilot stopped working several times during the trip, and therefore we got beached on the far side of the lake. The reason for this, as I tried to explain in the video, is that originally I was only reading the anemometer once every 10 seconds in the autopilot main program. And then I thought, well, this is a test run. One of the things we want to decide is whether we need to smooth or average the wind speed or compensate it in any way. Reading it only once every 10 seconds won't give us very much data. So I thought, well, I'll read it once a second. So I put another call to the get wind subroutine in the helmsman loop, which is an interrupt loop. And I forgot that, of course, BASIC being a non-reentrant programming language, you can't call the same subroutine in the main code and at interrupt level. So the effect of that was that the program worked perfectly well most of the time, until by chance it happened to be in the get wind subroutine at the autopilot level, and then a helmsman interrupt occurred and it tried to enter the same subroutine at interrupt level. You may be wondering why the thing restarted, how we recovered from that, simply because I had reset the telemetry shoreside. Well, the reason for that is that every time I start the telemetry shoreside, it sends a run command over the LoRa link to the micromite in the boat. Normally this command has no effect because the program in the boat is already running, but on this occasion the program had stopped with an error message. I reset the telemetry shoreside, it sent a run command which started the program off again. So that was quite helpful, although entirely accidental. So we'll be working on that data, and God knows what we're going to do next. Anyway, thanks very much for watching.